You likely clicked on this video because you want to get better at something. Whether that's a fighting game, a speedrun, an instrument, or whatever else, you have a passion, a burning desire to improve. However, you probably don't have 10 years or 10,000 hours that you can just dedicate to becoming an expert. Luckily, it doesn't actually take that long. You can drastically increase the amount of improvement that you make in a short span of time if you learn and implement a few simple ideas. If you want to improve as fast as possible, you must redefine what metric you use to track progress. Instead of focusing on time spent, focus on the number of learning cycles that you've gone through. During this video, I hope to teach you all about that and more so that you can take these ideas, go out into the world and improve like never before. The wrong metric. There seems to be a fascination with the amount of time people spend practicing. People ask, how long should I practice for? And others ask, how long have you been playing? Or how many hours do you have? If someone becomes very good in a short amount of time, many might ask, wow, how have you gotten so good in just 3 months? And when asked how to improve, the typical response is simply, spend more hours practicing. I will not deny that time spent practicing is important. You can't be an expert if you've only held a guitar for 2 days. Time is necessary, but not sufficient. And to track improvement mainly through the metric of hours or time spent is absolute nonsense. The quality of your practice matters far more than the quantity. I'm not sure exactly where the fascination on time spent comes from, but it has polluted the discourse around improvement. The truth is that you can reach a high level of proficiency in anything quickly if you do it the right way. Just trying to log hours for hours' sake will bring you only shallow results. When it comes to practice, focus on quality over quantity. For some further insight, we can look to what K. Anders Ericsson, the most well-researched psychologist in the field of expertise, has found when studying experts. When Ericsson and his colleagues were first starting to research expertise development, they pondered over those around them. They noticed that a bunch of people spent the same amount of time practicing, but they all achieved different results. Despite these people all logging a lot of practice, some of them were experts and some were just average Joes. Ericsson and his colleagues wondered why. The natural response might be to just write off the differences between them as a matter of talent or genetics. But Ericsson wasn't satisfied with that answer. Ericsson ended up finding that the key difference lied in how they practiced. The experts practiced with intense focus and vigor, always sure of what they were trying to improve at and where they were going next. Mindlessly grinding leads you nowhere, but deliberate practice leads to greatness. Purely focusing on time spent is one of the major things people get wrong when thinking about improvement. But there's another problematic metric people use when it comes to practice that may particularly affect those of us who have played a lot of video games. Although the information I share is not solely applicable to those of you who are trying to improve at video games, I'd imagine that most of you watching have played your fair share. Well, unfortunately, the typical video game progression style doesn't lend itself to meaningful improvement beyond maybe the basics. Take a game like Elden Ring, for example. You may spend hours fighting a particular boss, dying over and over again. But once you finally defeat him, you move on, never looking back. All you had to do was not mess everything up one time. Now, it should be pretty clear why this doesn't lead to meaningful improvement. It's not enough to just do something once, you have to think about it like a performance. If you want to improve, you need to work your way up until you can stand on stage and perform your skill first try with little to no mistakes. Don't practice until you get it right, practice until you can't get it wrong. Now, I don't want to just dismiss or diminish the excitement or sense of accomplishment that comes when you finally defeat that boss or hit every note in a guitar solo for the first time, because that feels awesome, and that may be your first tangible sign of progress. I just think it's important to recognize that there's a big difference between that moment and the actual finish line. The right metric. If we want to improve as fast as possible, we need a solid metric for tracking our progress. With a well-formed metric, we can identify when one method of practice isn't leading to improvement and when another is. Currently, you might say, I've practiced for 5 hours, but I'm still bad at X. What the heck? I put in my time, why am I not seeing any results? In this case, you might believe that your current method of practice just isn't working out. Even though you spent 5 hours, you don't feel 5 hours better. But before you switch up your whole practice routine, maybe you should take a step back and analyze why you don't feel 5 hours better. Ask yourself if you were really giving your practice your full attention, or if you were just trying to meet a time quota. Perhaps during those 5 hours you had YouTube open in the background, stealing away some of your attention. In that case, those 5 hours probably wouldn't be that much different from 20 minutes. And if 5 hours can be equated to 20 minutes, then clearly time spent is an unreliable metric. Instead of using time to track progress, we should use improvement cycles. Let me explain. In my video, How to Acquire a New Skill, I talk about the importance of direct practice and drills. To quickly summarize, direct practice is practicing something, well, directly. If you want to improve at Valorant, play Valorant games. If you want to learn how to speak French, go out and speak some French. Many people get caught up in the study or theory of something and don't spend enough time directly practicing the thing that they want to improve at. On the other hand though, sometimes direct practice isn't enough by itself. Sometimes there are certain building blocks of a skill that needs separate, isolated attention. In these cases, it's best to employ drills. Perhaps during your Valorant games you notice that your aim is really bad, so you should drill your aim with an aim trainer. While speaking French, you may realize that your vocabulary is very limited and holding you back. So you should drill your vocabulary with some flashcards. Direct practice and drills aren't enough by themselves, but together they serve as two integral parts of a greater learning cycle. These learning cycles are a great metric for tracking progress. Here's the cycle step by step. Step 1. Directly practice your skill. You should do so in a focused environment where you can spend all your energy on getting better. During your direct practice, you'll likely notice something that's weighing you down, something that's disproportionately difficult, one thing that really needs the most attention. Step 2. Isolate that one thing and drill it with precision and focus. When drilling, it's important to go slow. If you want to build a good foundation, you must practice slowly and correctly. If you try to go too fast before you are ready, you will overload your brain, and you might even get worse instead of better. By practicing slow, you can develop the proper techniques first and allow your brain the time it needs to learn, and only later speed up. Remember, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Step 3. Once you've drilled your isolated sub-skill with the proper techniques and focus, it's time to do some more direct practice. This direct practice should work to implement what you learned and developed during your drills into your overall skill. Just because you practiced a sub-skill in isolation doesn't mean that it will easily transfer over into the real thing. You need to spend some time working on and integrating your drilled sub-skill into the overall skill that you are learning. Step 4. Reflect on what happened. Ask yourself, did I improve? Did my drill work? If you got better while drilling and you were able to integrate your sub-skill into the overall skill, fantastic. You're ready to move on and keep improving. If you did improve at the sub-skill while drilling, but you weren't able to integrate it into the overall skill, you may need to design a different drill that more closely resembles the real environment. Or you may need a better method of integration. If your drill didn't work at all, then you probably need to design a completely new drill for practicing that sub-skill. Step 5. Repeat. Time to do it all again, forever and ever and ever. If you're interested in some further information on how to identify what you should practice, what you should drill, and how to design drills, let me know in the comments or subscribe to the channel for a future video on that very topic. Conclusion. Far too many people obsess over the amount of time they themselves or someone else spends practicing. The truth is, practice time matters very little. Although it's necessary to spend time practicing, it's more important that you focus on creating quality practice. Instead of worrying about time spent, you should track your progress using the number of learning cycles that you've completed. By going through the direct then drill cycle of practice, you can make sure that you are always improving. And with this method, ensure that you are improving as fast as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time.